a girl suddenly realized that he had fallen for the older sister who owned the coffee shop, just to stay with her. As soon as school ended every day in his senior year, he came to help at the cafe. As time passed, they both realized they had fallen deeply for each other and could not pull away. But could this taboo love, one that crossed society's boundaries, really have a future? Before meeting the girl, Haesu had already grown used to living alone. Only when he saw a happy family of 3 at the supermarket would he suddenly realize how lonely he really was. He ran a coffee shop by himself. One day, while he was fixing the light in the refrigerator display, the landlady came by. Seeing him struggle to fix it all alone, the kind landlady insisted on introducing him to a man. But Haesu did not seem very willing. A special customer came to Haesu's cafe. The girl added an extra shot of espresso to an already bitter espresso. Haesu kindly reminded her that it would be very bitter that way. The girl turned around and asked whether drinking coffee like that was something strange, or whether he only found it strange because she was a student. It seemed she was often asked that question. She explained that this was the best way to experience the pure taste of coffee. At first, the girl was just one of many customers, but this small incident left a deep impression on Haesu. Haesu did not expect to see her again at the movie theater. The girl had invited an older schoolmate to watch a movie, but he stood her up, so she had no choice but to watch the movie alone, holding a large bucket of popcorn and 2 cups of cola. By coincidence, Haesu was sitting nearby, only separated from her by an aisle. By the time the movie ended, it was already very late, and it had started to rain heavily. On his way back, Haesu saw the girl drenched and miserable, taking shelter from the rain by the roadside. He rolled down the window, called her into the car, and drove her home. Only then did Haesu learn the girl's name, Ijin. The next day, Ijin came to the cafe again, and greeted Haesu like an old friend. A customer accidentally broke a cup, and Haesu, being busy, could not get away to clean it up. When he turned around, he saw that Ijin had already grabbed the tools and started cleaning. After that, Ijin did not leave. Instead, he busied himself around the shop, like a long-time employee, which made things much easier for Haesu. After closing that night, Haesu thanked Ijin for helping so much. Ijin stretched out his hand and calculated his wages for the day. The minimum hourly wage was 6,471. For 3 hours of work, the total came to 19,410 won. Just as Haesu was about to pay him, Ijin suddenly smiled and said he did not need the money. Ijin became an important part of the cafe he loved most. The two worked together with perfect understanding, like old partners who had worked together for years. As a passionate coffee lover, Ijin said Haesu's coffee tasted wonderful. But compared to other cafes, the interior decoration was outdated, and honestly a bit shabby. Looking at the plain walls, Haesu said he was planning to visit the cafe street over the weekend to do some market research. Ijin said he did all this because he loved it. When he asked Haesu in return, Haesu paused for a moment and said he simply wanted to live life in his own way. That weekend, they visited many cafes together. Each had a different style, but all of them were tasteful, almost like visiting an exhibition. Ijin carefully noted every detail that moved him. After they came back, he decorated the plain brick wall with cherry blossoms. Sure enough, it made the place feel completely refreshed. That night, Ijin excitedly called Haesu to ask whether he had seen the flowers he had put up. At that moment, Haesu was taking medicine. Usually he did not seem sick at all, but he had been taking medicine for a long time. There was always a mysterious air about him. No one there knew his past, and it seemed he really was hiding some secret deep inside. On his phone, there was an entry titled "My Wedding Day." After hesitating for a moment, he seemed to make up his mind and deleted it, as though he were cutting ties with the past and starting a new life. Later, he went to a phone shop and bought a new phone. Everything on the old one, including the photos, was discarded. At the phone shop, the owner could not reach a phone placed too high up. Haesu stepped forward, stood on tiptoe, and easily took it down for him. The man was amazed by Heisu's height. The next day, that man came to the cafe and ordered a coffee. After serving it, Heisu quickly withdrew his hands. He seemed afraid that others would notice that his hands were not particularly delicate. Ijin, who had just finished working, leaned close to Heisu and softly asked about it. Ijin also noticed that Heisu always wore a scarf. But Heisu did not explain why, because he worried that Heisu's hands might be cold. Ijin would warm up her pockets in advance for her. The landlady came to the shop again, and once more brought up the idea of a blind date. Seeing Heisu's discomfort, Ijin tried to help him out, but because he spoke rudely, the landlady quietly scolded him. Ijin's wish to protect Heisu was not wrong, but the person he was confronting was not only the landlady, but also a customer of the shop at that moment. Treating a customer like that was indeed too much. Heisu was truly angry. That evening, seeing the dejected Ijin, Heisu apologized for speaking too harshly. He even took Ijin home and cooked him something delicious. By accident, Ijin discovered bottles of medicine in Heisu's cabinet and a photograph. Heisu said it was his family photo. As he said that, he casually turned the photo face down on the table. Ijin was curious why Heisu was not in the picture. He thought Heisu must have been the one taking the photograph. Heisu suddenly realized that Ijin seemed to be getting too deeply involved in his life. He gently suggested that Ijin should not waste too much time there, and that since he was in his senior year, he should focus on his studies. He asked Ijin to teach him how to decorate, so that if Ijin was not around in the future, he could decorate the place himself. Together, they transformed the cafe. The pink cherry blossoms and the warm white lights created a kind of nostalgic romance. But because the landlady kept insisting, Heisu eventually went on the blind date. Unexpectedly, the date was with Hyunwoo, the owner of the phone shop. Hyunwoo had prepared this carefully. Ever since meeting Heisu in the phone shop, he had fallen for him at first sight, and had specifically asked the landlady to introduce them. Hyunwoo was witty, humorous, and gentlemanly. He even asked the waiter for a blanket to cover Heisu's knees. The next day, Hyunwoo came to Heisu's cafe. Watching them laugh and chat happily, Ijin felt miserable and left without looking back. At school, Ijin accidentally heard classmates say that the girl who had just walked by on the second floor was a lesbian. Ijin immediately pricked up his ears. In the restroom, Ijin met that girl everyone was gossiping about. He could not help but look at her a few times. The girl thought that Ijin, like everyone else, had come to insult her. But that was not the case. Ijin simply had something he wanted to say. When they heard someone coming, they quickly hid inside a bathroom stall. Ijin seriously told her that they were the same kind of people. The girl placed her hand on Ijin's chest, but Ijin's heartbeat did not quicken. It seemed the person who made his heart race was not her. Ijin was sensitive about this matter, precisely because of the special feelings he had for Heisu. When he saw Heisu dating someone else, he felt jealous, and because of that, he had been troubled lately. While washing cups, he accidentally spilled coffee on himself. Heisu carefully untied his tie and helped him change into clean clothes. Ijin's heart pounded wildly. Could this be the feeling of falling for someone that the lesbian girl had talked about? That night, Ijin sat alone by the river watching fireworks, not knowing what he should do next. Ijin's part-time job at the cafe was discovered by his mother. She strongly opposed it and told him to study hard and stop going there to work. But Ijin was at that rebellious age, and his mother could do nothing with him. So she went to Heisu and asked him to turn Ijin away. The next day, Heisu invited Ijin to take a walk by the sea, planning to find an opportunity to talk to him. The sound of the waves seemed to speak 1,000 unspoken words for them. He wished the sea breeze could blow away all their troubles. He wished time could stay frozen in that moment forever. Ijin said he was truly happy that day. He even promised Heisu that next year they should come back to the same sea again. Heisu fell silent for a moment, and then asked about Ijin's plans for college. He spoke in a gentle, roundabout way. But the meaning was clear. Every gathering must someday come to an end. Instead of prolonging the pain, it would be better to practice saying goodbye now. While the mood was still good. Be cool, he said. Don't cry. Eugene forced a smile, and said the cafe could not do without him. When spring passed, he would want to see summer decorations. And when summer passed, he would want to see autumn decorations. In the end, Jesus held out his hand, and said they should shake hands and part ways there. But Eugene did not shake his hand. Instead, he picked up the soju in front of Jesus, and drained it in one gulp. The soju burned all the way down. His mouth hurt, his stomach hurt, and his heart hurt too. Because Jesus liked wearing scarves, Eugene carefully chose one for him. He came to the shop as usual, but Jesus told him that he hoped Eugene would listen to him, and not come anymore. That evening, when Eugene returned to the cafe, the door was locked. Jesus had closed early. Eugene placed the scarf by the door, but after walking a short distance away, he turned back and took it with him again. At that moment, Jesus was on a date with Hyunwoo. It was Jesus' birthday that day, and Hyunwoo had even bought a cake for him. To pursue Jesus, Hyunwoo had truly put in a lot of effort. The next morning, looking at the stubborn Eugene, Jesus finally told him the truth. Eugene's mother had come, and asked him to dismiss Eugene. After work that day, Eugene stuffed the scarf into Jesus' pocket. Then he stopped Jesus, because he was determined to make everything clear that day. At last, Jesus confessed all of his secrets to Eugene. He asked Eugene whether he still remembered the family photo. The truth was Jesus was in it. One of the boys in the photo was actually him. Jesus pretended to remain calm and drove away. But at the next intersection, he could no longer hold back, and broke down in tears. The top student, who had always been a well-behaved girl, dressed up sexily for the first time, and went alone to a bar for sexual minorities, where he drank himself senseless. Then, staggering unsteadily, he came to the cafe, but it was already closed. At the door was a notice saying they were hiring. Crying as he walked, Eugene went to Jesus' house, and sincerely confessed his feelings to him. That night, Eugene slept peacefully in Jesus' embrace. But early the next morning, when he woke up, he found that Jesus was already gone. There was only a note left for him on the table. When Jesus returned home that night, he saw the scarf Eugene had given him lying overturned on the floor. As usual, he picked up his medicine bottle. But today the medicine seemed unbearably bitter. Later, Jesus confessed his secret to Hyunwoo too. And that relationship also seemed to come to an end. For the first time, he took off his scarf in front of someone. Perhaps from now on, he no longer wanted to care about society's judgment. No longer wanted to live in such a twisted, restrained way. He wanted to accept his true self, just as he had once told Eugene. Later, when someone in the cafe accidentally broke a cup, he instinctively called out Eugene's name, only to remember that Eugene was no longer there. He often sank into memories, remembering the first time they met. Much later, he wore the scarf Eugene had given him. When he looked back, all he could see were the spring decorations Eugene had left behind. In the blink of an eye, winter had arrived, but the person who had once said he would decorate winter for him was gone. Jesus gazed blankly at the snow falling outside the window. Perhaps when the cherry blossoms bloomed again next year, he might meet him again. The film is called Between the Seasons. In the film, the idea of seasons is both literal and symbolic. It suggests that identity is not a fixed state, but a period of constant change and transition. Both Jesus and Eugene go through repeated attempts at self-recognition, which help them better understand who they are and what they truly want. Jesus did not reject Eugene's confession because he had no feelings for him, but because he understood that being different does not mean being wrong. As he once told Eugene, he needed to respect himself, while also respecting the choices of others. This rejection actually reflected his care for Eugene. He did not want Eugene to bear extra pressure because of his own complicated situation. At the end of the film, Jesus sits alone in the cafe, Tied to his apron is a bracelet woven by Eugene, and in his pocket is a sketch Eugene drew. The seasons continue to turn, and everyone keeps moving forward on their own path. This is not only a film about meeting and redemption, but also a love letter to everyone who is different. May we all calmly accept every part of ourselves, bravely follow our hearts, treat ourselves gently in this lonely world, and in the winds of the changing seasons, find our own light and redemption.